Hi, I'm Cassidy Kaysen.
I'm Olivia Notman.
I'm Isaiah Russell.
I'm Amy Mortensen.
And we did our presentation/research on mental health on Rollins College campus.
Our problem statement is, according to the article Improving the Identification of Mental Health Need on College Campuses, it has been noted that mental health on college campuses has worsened since our parents were in school in the 1950s and 60s. A negative stigma has also arisen around mental health that has caused millennials to not seek help and believe they are not experiencing mental incapabilities such as depression and anxiety.
Alright, now we're going to go into our literature review. So we grouped our sources into 4 different categories. The first is the impacts of social media on millennials, and 4 things we took from it were: social media should replace traditional advertising because it is inexpensive and reaches the millennial population faster and more effectively. Adolescents have a higher chance to post more on Instagram when they have a higher levels of depressed mood. Adolescents have a higher chance to develop a greater depressed mood when they browse more often through Instagram. And the studies that were found in the article show that many of the people interviewed look to social media in order to look for methods to deal with their mental health.
So mental health as a growing issue, approximately half of all college students were found to have a psychiatric disorder in a large national study. Mental illnesses begin to show most predominantly in college-age students, and they're just about to end high school. And it has been noted that mental health on college campuses has worsened since our parents were in school in the 1950s and 60s.
The third category is getting help. So seeking help at an earlier age is more beneficial than waiting until it is too late. School level stigma is negatively associated with self-reports of suicidal ideation and self-injury. Marginally positive association between the school level mean stigma scale score and seeking informal support through a religious group. And finally, mental health is directly affected by a lack of proper educational levels.
Rollins was awarded a $305,848 Garrett Lee Smith Campus Suicide Prevention Grant from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. This is a government agency within the United States Department of Health and Human Services. The grant's timing comes after 2 Rollins students have died by suicide in the past 6 months. Data from the American College Health Association survey revealed that suicide is the leading cause of death among college students. This article gives an introduction to the issue on college student mental health. Provided in the article is information about procedures that are used to get a represented sample of college students.
So we decided to work with 2 research questions. The first being, how does the Rollins College Wellness Center communicate suicide prevention on campus? And the second, how are Rollins College students communicating about suicide on campus?
So our qualitative research, it's the research in which the researcher is a primary observer or data collector. It aims for subjectivity over objectivity and gather wealth of information. Our interview was with the director of the Wellness Center, Connie Briscoe, and the sample questions were, what do you think prevents students from visiting the Wellness Center? And do you think that students are encouraging each other to go to the Wellness Center if they need help? Our analysis was the holistic view of health, suicide prevention grant, campus, climate, and social media.
The other form of data that we collected were through surveys and quantitative research. Quantitative research is research that relies on numerical evidence. As you will see, we'll have graphs added throughout the presentation. We used the form of snowball sampling, and we found that most of our respondents were sophomores and freshmen, and we had 150 responses to our survey that we sent out via email to our friends and other students at Rollins. Some of the sample questions that we used are you aware that Rollins College received a grant to aid in suicide prevention? As well as, are you aware of the counseling and psychological services that Rollins has to offer? And as you can see, the majority of respondents are in fact aware of the psychological services that Rollins has to offer. It's just more of a lack of not going to those services.
Research question 1. How does the Rollins College Wellness Center communicate suicide prevention on campus? Our interview findings were that question, persuade, and refer training to help the campus to better recognize warning signs. QPR training is something that a lot of leaders on campus do, so they can recognize warning signs in other students, so that they can be aware and be able to provide help to those seeking it, and also even if they aren't seeking it. The Wellness Center also sends out a large quantity of emails about QPR training and other things that have to do with suicide prevention. And every spring semester there is a wellness street fair. The fair consists of activities that help people work on their health and mental health or physical health, whichever it will be, and it helps a lot of students, like pretty much the whole student body, become aware of things that they can do to help their friends and to help themselves.
Going a little more into research question 1, our survey found that most of the students at Rollins preferred emails over social media, and they found them actually somewhat helpful. So if you look at the chart here, if you read the emails, how the content, 5.38% said not helpful, 32.31% said I don't read the emails, 19.23% said that it was very helpful, and then 43.08% said it was somewhat helpful. So we did get some more positive feedback in terms of receiving emails than anything else.
So our survey findings for research question 1, the majority of respondents were not aware that the Wellness Center received a suicide prevention grant, and the respondents want to know the student-focused programs coming from the grant. Respondents have not participated in QPR training. And then question, would you like to be informed about the new student-focused programs that will come from the grant? So 46.72 said yes, 2.92 said I already know, 16.79 said no, and 33.58 said maybe.
More survey findings that we received is half the respondents are aware that the Wellness Center has social media. The majority of respondents do not follow the Wellness Center on social media, and the majority of respondents do not want to receive information via social media. So kind of going back to what Isaiah mentioned earlier, this can be something that we could later explore, but as of right now, they don't know that the Wellness Center even uses social media. And it's proven by the pie chart. Would you prefer to receive information from the Wellness Center via social media? And 42.19% of respondents said no, that they would not.
So research question 2, how are Rollins College students communicating about suicide on campus? The campus climate is not open about discussing suicide, but open about what they are feeling. But students do encourage each other to go to attend CAPS, and Connie Briscoe did mention that she feels that students are supportive of each other, and the fact that if they need help, they want each other to go get it. But she also mentioned that she thinks that people are just uncomfortable with discussing the topic of suicide.
So some more survey findings for research question 2. We saw that for the students, most communication is via conversation with each other. It's much easier to just talk to a friend or talk to someone that you're comfortable discussing the topic of suicide or other mental health issues with. And we found that 41.98% said that it was somewhat positive. So it is a good thing that people are seeing as a positive experience with discussing topics of that nature. And here for this pie chart, our question was, if you heard your peers communicating about the Wellness Center, how was the communication? And we found that 11.45% said, I have not heard my peers communicating about the Wellness Center at all. 41% said that it was somewhat positive. 14.5% said somewhat negative, and 2.29% said it was very negative.
So the survey findings were about half of the respondents were encouraging their friends to attend the counseling and psychological services. And have you ever encouraged someone to attend CAPS? And 51.52 said no, and 47.73 said yes.
Discussion about our findings from the survey and from the interview itself. The majority of respondents felt as though they could openly communicate with someone about suicide. You saw this specifically in Isaiah's pie chart that indicated that they do feel open. We found that Connie Briscoe thought that she assumed that students were more open in communication, whereas our survey found otherwise. Half of those respondents did not communicate about the past suicides on campus with someone, and Connie Briscoe assumed that we had a more positive, open climate where students felt more comfortable to share, but our survey revealed otherwise. And finally, the negative stigma versus positive stigma was the other thing that we found different between our interviews and our surveys. We found that when we interviewed Connie Briscoe, she assumed that there was a more negative stigma than what the surveys indicated, considering that half of the respondents were actually communicating with each other about suicide and felt that they could go to CAPS, indicated that we have a much more positive climate than what our literature review suggested and compared to other colleges across the nation.
The implications of our research are that we feel that the Wellness Center should host programs that aid in fostering a discussion about suicide and how to approach that discussion. This is important because we found that a lot of people are very uncomfortable with talking about suicide, especially if they know someone that has committed suicide. And we also feel that the Wellness Center should host more events on campus. We've only really seen the Wellness Street Fair in the fall and then their other fair in the spring. So they're not out very often, and sometimes we do see them during finals. They have a little de-stress fair, but we believe that if they hosted more events and had more of a presence on campus, that it would be very beneficial to our student body.
Especially considering that freshmen come in the fall, whereas it would really relieve them of their stress during their new semester instead of hosting it in the spring and maybe prevent some of the students from transferring.
So for future direction, we can evaluate the communication of Rollins College students via Instagram to determine their mental health, being that Instagram is one of the main uses of social media on campus. And this would allow us to specifically focus on demographics in a survey to assess the subpopulations of Rollins College. The subpopulations are the people who really are kind of under the radar and don't get as much attention as they probably should get. And then we could also evaluate all 9 dimensions of holistic health to determine which dimension needs to be improved across campus. And this is just really targeting the weak points on campus and allowing us to just become a stronger campus in terms of our culture.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.